But you can present while your video is on, as long as the rest have switched off their mic, because I think it's on air now. So it will be good
Okay.
if you are, except if you find it some difficulties while presenting. But for now, I may say just leave it like that and you continue with your presentation. Thank you very much.
That's fine, Chairperson. If there's a problem, we can then make a different plan. Thank you
Yes.
very much for the opportunity. Honorable Deputy Chair of the NCOP, our honorable members of Parliament, the NCOP, the legislature, as well as our local government leadership, other colleagues and participants in the session this afternoon. The primary focus of Financial and Fiscal Commission is the equitable division of nationally collected revenue amongst the three spheres of government and any other financial and fiscal matters. The district development model consists of a process by which joint and collaborative planning is undertaken at local, district, and metropolitan level by all three spheres of governments. It builds on the White Paper on Local Government of 1998 as the next step towards achieving our vision of developmental local government. National and provincial governments are required by the Constitution to support and strengthen the capacity of municipalities to manage their own affairs. The district development model is a practical intergovernmental relations mechanism that enables all three spheres of government to work together with communities and stakeholders to plan, budget, and implement in unison. An IGR fiscal mechanism, system, and process must be an inherent key element of this. We need to reflect and determine to what extent our budgeting instruments and processes have been adapted to reflect the district development model. We learned from the Minister of Finance's 2021 budget speech on Wednesday that the Municipal Systems Improvement Grant is now extended for the rollout of the district development model. This will assist in addressing the financial governance challenges for many municipalities. Now, gender responsive budgeting as well as planning involves a full process from analysis of the budget programs from a gender perspective to a process of change based on identified gender equality gaps, as well as the integration of gender perspectives throughout the budget process. It essentially aims to mainstream gender in economic policy making and seeks to transform the entire budgetary process. Gender-based budgeting must, of course, be aligned to national development goals on gender equality and women's development. Gender-responsive budgeting does not involve creating separate budgets for women and girls, or simply increasing specific budget allocations directed to these groups. Instead, it involves collecting budget revenues and allocating expenditure that address persistent inequalities between women, girls, and men or boys. When we talk of gender equality, we need to also begin to talk of fiscal equality. A comprehensive approach would include at least the monitoring stage of the budget cycle, where we do policy appraisal, beneficiary assessment, and gender disaggregated public expenditure incidents. We need to focus on revenue. How revenue is generated, who is contributing, and the effects of the tax system on men and women, the overall structure of the tax system, and the effect of tax incentives, as well as an overall analysis of budget proposals. And there we talk of conducting our gender disaggregated analysis. At local government level, our IDP and budgeting processes go hand in hand. The one simply cannot exist without the other. These processes should not only be outwardly reflective, but also find expression from an internal institutional perspective. Research conducted by Toad, Sitoli, and Williamson in 2007 investigated the extent to which women's issues have been incorporated at local government level and concluded that municipalities tend to lag behind national policy and guidelines in giving priority to the goal of gender equality. The original IDP guide packs included guidelines for mainstreaming gender in IDPs, and they set out an approach in which gender was incorporated into each stage of the IDP process. The Gender Policy Framework for Local Government was subsequently launched in September 2007, and it further evolved into the White Paper on the Gender Policy Framework, as well as the most recent 2015 to 2020 Policy Framework. We have been talking about our gender focal points, our gender forums, and monitoring and evaluation mechanisms that intends to institutionalize government commitment to achieving gender equality. This Women's Charter review process provides us with an opportunity to assess the progress we have made, to realize the overarching commitments to non-sexism and gender equality in the strategic and operational work of municipalities, and to identify the areas within which we must consolidate and strengthen our focus and implementation actions. The FFC has previously conducted research which reflected on the gender perspective as reflected in IDPs and budgets at local government level. Our presentation today also reflects some of the key findings of that research. The finalization of a comprehensive framework must be prioritized. There are numerous important initiatives that are focusing on this work, including the Women's Multi-Party Caucus review of the current draft gender-responsive budgeting framework, which highlights, amongst others, its limitations as a policy framework to strengthen institutional capacity at national, provincial, and local level for aligning service delivery with the imperatives of promoting gender equity. The lack of expertise in the state to take up gender-responsive planning and budgeting, the difficulty in accessing disaggregated data for reviewing planning and budgeting processes from a gender perspective, as well as the lack of a framework for incorporating gender as an analytical variable into government's monitoring and evaluation processes. We need to find a way to practically and publicly express a view on the correlation between our planning, our budgeting, and public expenditure from a gender perspective in our democratic institutions of governance at national, provincial, and local government level. The voice of Parliament, the NCOP legislatures, and municipal councils will undoubtedly assist in taking this narrative forward. The realities of Black African female-headed households being the poorest of the poor, unemployment rates being historically higher for women than men, and gender inequality reflected in wage gaps must find direct reflection not only in the annual vertical division of revenue between the three spheres of government, but also within the horizontal budget allocations within national, provincial, and local government. Ansuya is going to take us through the presentation of the FFC's research that was done in most recent years. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Commissioner Rockman. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, and everybody that is present. In terms of the FFC research on gender budgeting, one avenue that should receive emphasis is obviously the intergovernmental fiscal relations system. And a successful IGFR system would be sensitive to the needs of women and contribute to moving them out of poverty. Innovations in policy design and implementation are required to ensure gender-sensitive resource allocation. The objective in FFC's research that it did on gender budgeting, the objective was to assess gender responsiveness of municipal budgeting processes. And the study that FFC did followed a two-pronged approach. It looked at the IDPs, which is the Integrated Development Plans of randomly selected municipalities, and case studies covering 7 municipalities.
I was not understanding it.
Chairperson?
Continue, and Siwa is one of the participants that just.
Thank you, Chairperson. Case studies covering 7 municipalities across 4 provinces. This is what the study looked at: Gauteng, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and Free State. The study, in terms of the study, there was particular focus on 4 sectors: local economic development, water and sanitation, early childhood development, and housing and infrastructure. The findings that resulted from this research was that there was a lack of gender mainstreaming and women empowerment as an approach, lack of gender disaggregated data, equity versus mainstreaming for gender equality, and it was actually more about numbers. There's a very weak translation of gender inequality, gender equality commitments that fed into the fiscal commitments, And the IDPs show little evidence of the manner in which the IDP planning processes and budget officers have budgeted for gender mainstreaming. The case studies that we held as well, and there were results from those case studies. The case study shows that there was a poor translation of the National Agenda on Women Empowerment and Gender Equality into local government programs. There was inadequate sex disaggregated data. The gender discourse was events driven, and there was a lack of gender budgeting training and capacity building of decision makers. There's very poor institutionalization of gender responsive budgeting and an absence of an analysis of the gender impact of existing revenues and expenditures. So going on, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members and everybody present, looking then at the research, further on the research on gender budgeting, the findings for some of the reasons for limited gender mainstreaming, the absence of an approved gender policy all across the board for all municipalities. There was an absence of a municipal gender mainstreaming strategy, and personnel in management, that is those that make the decisions, and budget officers, those who track the expenditure, have limited knowledge of gender mainstreaming, and gender equality indicators and the collection of gender disaggregated information was very limited. Honorable Chairperson, members and everybody present, as you are aware, FFC does make recommendations. FFC makes the recommendation, government responds to the recommendations, and there is a current status as to what is happening regarding those recommendations. One of the recommendations made by the FFC in terms of its research was that the national and provincial governments should run gender budgeting pilots in a few municipalities first and evaluate results before wider application, and that these pilots could be linked to ensuring gender disaggregated data for key conditional grants as part of the grant framework in the Division of Revenue Act, as well as ensure municipal integrated development plans institutionalize gender planning by sector. By sector, we mean, for example, water, sanitation, and so forth, and include gender disaggregated performance indicators and targets, that is to provide gender budgeting good practice guides and toolkits. Also to provide guidelines for collecting sex disaggregated data for budgeting processes and ensure that municipalities have the capacity to analyze such budgets from a gender perspective. And government's response to that, to FFC's recommendations, to the 3 bullets that I just read out, was that government supports the proposals which will help ensure that the collection and allocation of public resources is effectively carried out and contributes to advancing gender equality and women's empowerment, as well as it will provide tools to assist the different needs and contributions of men, women, boys and girls within the existing revenues and expenditures and allocations, and will call for adjusted budget policies to benefit all groups. And the current status of this matter at the time of the publication was that the Department of Women was engaging with National Treasury on budgets and has indicators regarding it in the strategic plan. FFC made further recommendations. One of it was also that the local government should institutionalize gender responsive budgeting processes, which will be linked to the IDPs, and build capacity for gender mainstreaming, ensure gender responsive appropriations and budget allocations, and also to ensure gender sensitive public participation. Government's response to that was the gender responsive budget analysis, along with the legislation and other practical policy measures, can address gender bias and discrimination, and it is definitely a step towards increased accountability and public transparency. However, continued government, the proposal's implementation may be hindered by capacity constraints within the municipalities, and no record of any progress regarding this was actually tracked, at the stage of the finalization of the presentation. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson and members.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin and Ms. Rockman, for your presentation. I don't know really if the municipalities doesn't have the policies that has been approved that one is an indication that there's no way where they can have budget of those streams, because you can only budget if you do have policies that will be guiding you. But thank you very much for all the presentations that we received so far. And thank you very much to the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, and everybody who is in this platform for allowing me this opportunity to chair this first session. The first session has come to an end. Then we'll be proceeding to the second session, where I will hand over to Honorable Gillian to take over. You were so good, but there were those that wanted to interrupt by opening their videos, opening their mics. But anyhow, enjoy your weekend and God bless you. Bye for now. Over to you, Honorable Gillian. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Deputy Chair of the NCOP, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, the Deputy Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, all protocol observed. Allow me to introduce the second phase of this presentations that will be done by the local government, and it is towards the district level planning perspective towards a gendered integrated developmental planning approach. And I will call on Councillor Alderman I don't know if it's Honorable or On van Slicht, who's the Executive Mayor of the Cape Winelands District Municipality, to represent the Cape Winelands District Municipality. Over to you, Executive Mayor.
Good afternoon, Honourable Gillian, Member of the NCOP and Chairperson, and all protocol observed. It is my privilege and my honour to have been invited to share the perspective from the Cape Winelands District on this platform, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Chairperson, I was arranging with Mr. Kevin to please share my presentation. If we can just continue with that, please, sir. And while we're speaking, I would like to share then with you a warm and all the good wishes from the Cape Winelands in the Western Cape. So I will focus mainly, Chairperson, on maximising opportunities on women empowerment in line with the Women's Charter in the area of the Cape Winelands District Municipality. I will not spend time on these. You can read that yourselves. This is just a presentation overview. If we can move on, please. To the purpose of the presentation, I think it's the second slide, please, Kevin. The purpose of this presentation today is really to share with you the maximising opportunities, and also to show to you how we forge vibrant developmental partnerships with government, with civil societies and businesses. I'm still on the second slide, Kevin. Then also how we sustainably add to the continuous development and creating opportunities for women and youth in our area. Then we move to the introduction to the topic. Kevin, if you can just get to the same slide. There you are. Thank you very much. Chairperson, sorry for that, because I'm not screening it myself. First of all, just a brief presentation to this, a brief overview to this presentation. Gender-based violence, or GBV as we say, or violence against women and children, or girl childs, is really a global pandemic affecting 1 in 3 women in lifetime globally. And the numbers are staggering. 35% of women worldwide have experienced either physical and or sexual intimate partner violence in their lives. Mr. Mulai was indicating that it's 1 in 5 in South Africa. Of course, the numbers that I'm indicating here is the global number. So in South Africa, it's 1 in 5. But I have to confirm that numbers are concerningly and similarly high in Cape Winelands. I take you to the picture on the right hand of my slide here. And this is in Afrikaans, I will just share with you what this is all about. This is the most recent gruesome murder of a woman in our area. She was in her early 30s. Her name was Heidi Smith. She was brutally murdered by her partner, actually her lawful husband, leaving a child of 4 months old, and that was a deed purely out of jealousy. You can also see on the picture our Honourable Member of Parliament, Ms. Wendy Philander. We're on the picture where they were picketing in front of the Magistrates Court to object to the bail of this perpetrator. But this is really a very familiar picture on our papers in the Cape Winelands. And every one of these ladies are one too many, of course. Then, of course, I have to tell you and to say here that gender-based violence also, as was the case in the whole of the country, escalated dramatically during the lockdown with COVID-19. And that was mostly due to frustration, to lack of alcohol, to drug abuse, to joblessness, to lack of income. And we have experienced in the Cape Winelands, as in the rest of the country, that if I can say, the cracks in our communities were really brought to the surface during the lockdown and during a pandemic such as the COVID-19. So whatever we discuss on the Women's Charter and the empowerment of women, we have also to make plans what we can execute in times of real crises and pandemics. The next slide is the map of our district, just to indicate to you where more or less we are situated. And you can see, Madam Chair, that we are situated centrally in the middle of all 5 districts in the Cape, in the Western Cape. We border the West Coast, we border Central Karoo, we border the Garden Route, we border the Overberg, and we also border the city of Cape Town, which is really, it has its own characteristics, which I will not go into now, but very interestingly also affecting the lives of women. The next slide is in just a few statistical background facts about the Cape Winelands. We consist, of course, of 5 local municipalities. For the ladies from the rest of the country, it includes the Stellenbosch Municipality, the Drakensberg Municipality, and those are our 2 most resourced municipalities. And then we have the division by the mountain, the range of mountains here. We refer to Stellenbosch and Drakensberg as this side of the mountain, meaning it's closest to Cape Town. And then on the other side of the mountain, we have, when you move through the tunnel, you have the Witzenberg, the Breede Valley, and the Langeberg. And these are not as resourced, and I'm talking about money and capacity. The whole of the district, we have a population of about 900,000 plus people, just shy of 1 million people. And of course, we have the biggest population of districts outside of the metro. And in line with what Mr. Malaya has indicated, we are more or less 50% males and 50% females in our area. Our biggest job creator is, of course, the agricultural sector. So the majority of our people, when they work and if they work in the agricultural area, meaning they are not highly paid people. Hence, again, the prevalence of poverty in these areas. Tourism and hospitality is also, these are also 2 industries that are really our selling point of the Cape Winelands. That those 2 sectors were on a huge threat during the COVID-19. They were the hardest hit. And many of our ladies especially lost their jobs in the tourism and hospitality sector due to COVID-19. And it will take a long time, as you all know, for tourists to come back, international tourists especially, to come back to our area. So these people will then be out of jobs for many months, perhaps years to come. Yeah, then I will skip one bullet, and the last bullet for me, which is really important, is the fact that our unemployment number in Cape Winelands is currently 17.2%, and we expect that will grow even bigger during the next 2 years as we try to economically recover and to bring people back to the jobs again. Just one fact that I would like to mention about the Cape Winelands, it's not on my presentation here, but Mr. Mulai was also referring to sanitation. And just as a point of interest, in the whole of the Cape Winelands, Chairperson, we only have, at this point in time, 12 pit toilets that we are aware of. And that is, of course, not reflecting dignity to our people. So those 12 pit toilets will be completely eradicated within the next financial year. Next slide is then the Cape Winelands engendered policy. Now, the first bullet there, it shows to us that we have, as a district municipality, no mandate to deliver direct services to the communities as a district municipality. Hence, we do not have an engendered policy yet. However, we internally, within our staff component, we do comply with our provincial targets for gender equality. I can also say that gender mainstreaming is paramount in our municipality, and the balance of our staff in the Cape Winelands represent mostly, the majority are actually women, females, and we even appoint females in our roads department, and we have high respect for the ladies working on the roads and in the roads department. Second bullet there is to say, in the light of the fact that we don't have a gender policy, we have, as a Cape Winelands district municipality, a department of rural and social development. This is not a mandated function. It's not a funded mandate. We fund these projects that I will discuss now and unpack now a little bit more from our own pockets, so to speak. But these departments, this rural and social development, they are linked to Section 153 of the Constitution, also the National Development Plan, and also the Cape Vision 2040. The focus of our department, rural and social development, is of course building and maintaining social capital through access to programs and services. That's across the board. Then the aim of these programs, Madam Chair, is to increase physical activity, enhance education, improve skills levels, enhance employability, provide access to assistive devices like wheelchairs, provide funding for community-based organizations, and promote the rights of vulnerable groups such as youth, women and children, the disabled and the elderly. The second last bullet on this slide, Cape Winelands District Municipality has established over the years a culture of supporting vulnerable groups and NGOs across the district that contribute to achieving the national, provincial and district aspirations of the country by serving communities and individuals who are most in need, such as women, girl childs and gender victims. And of course, I have to mention that the success of these programs are based on the very strong and vibrant partnerships with national and provincial government, with our 5B municipalities, and also with civil societies, civil organizations, communities across the Cape Winelands, municipal district and training institutions. Next slide. The next slide, Madam Chair, takes us to our divisional budget. And I'm just indicating to you here, this is not our complete budget. This is just a divisional budget for the Department of Rural and Social Development. And I take you to the left hand corner, where we can see rural and social, which makes up 40% of our project budget. The rest you can see for yourself there. And I have to mention that all these departments are of course interlinked. When we talk about the LED, which is to your top right hand side, we also support women in our local economic development section. And the orange pie slides there are also women in the tourism sector that we do support. But this gives you a layout of how we spend our money and where we are actually dealing with women. When we talk about the rural and the social development department, that also includes women, youth, families, the ECD centers, where we support the 1,000 days, we support with financial support, the ECD centers, all to support women, the mothers, and also the girl childs to be educated going forward. The next slide, please, Kevin. Just a few notes there on how to access financial assistance from the Cape Winelands, and I'm not going to spend lots of time on this one. Just the last bullet on that slide. Our strategic objective 1 and predetermined objective 1.5 speaks to creating a safe and a healthy environment for the development and economic empowerment of, amongst other, the vulnerable groups, such as farm dwellers and rural communities who are mostly women and youth. So you can see, Madam Chair, that our objectives really are focused on the vulnerable group, and we also hence plan and budget to support these. Yeah, then we can go to the next slide. We are,
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
I just need to remind all presenters that you only got 15 minutes to do a presentation.
Oh,
thank you.
Madam Chair, may I ask permission to just quickly run through the presentation just very briefly, because the actual content is still coming.
But you see, Mayor, if I allow you, I must allow all other mayors to do that. So if you can conclude, I'll give you just one minute to conclude then.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kevin, can you page then the slides to please to our rural and gender budget? You can go on, another one. Yeah, you can stop there. No, another one, please, another one. Carry on to the budget. There you have our budget for all the programs. And I just want to say, Madam Chair, and this is all part of my presentation. Another slide, please, the next one. There I mention all our programs, Madam Chair. It's all listed there, all the numbers of the ladies that we do involve. And I'm not going to spend time now. Please read this through. The presentation will be made available. And really on the next slide, I indicate that we really focus on building the self-image. And the next slide, please, sir. Where we help the people to access legal services, active aging, safety tips, and yes, we spend much more money on empowering our ladies in our environment. Then there's some pictures that you can look through at your own leisure, and then I get to the conclusion. I've said that the gender-based violence included the gender-based matter in our district safety plan, because we also think that this is a societal challenge and a policing matter. We work according to the DDM, the JDMA, as we call it in the Western Cape, also the whole of society approach. In the conclusion, Madam Chair, our commitment and recommendation is that we will continue to render services to our rural women and address the matters of importance to them. We will strategically continue also to fund our social and rural development department and to look after the needs of our rural people. Next slide. You strike a woman, you strike a rock, and I thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We will continue now, and please can I just ask the presenters of the different municipalities to bear in mind that you only have 15 minutes to do your presentations. Otherwise, we will run out of time when we had to do the discussions. So our next presenter will be the Executive Mayor of the Central Karoo District Municipality. It's Councillor Win Vogel. Councillor Win Vogel, if you're ready, you can proceed.
Honorable Gillian.
Deputy Chairperson, is something wrong with?
No, not that there is something wrong. I got a message that it seems as if Central Karoo Mayor will not be available. So I think you can continue with the other municipality.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. So the next municipality is the Eden District Municipality, and it will be represented by the Salga Women's Commissioner, Councillor Strubel.
Yes, good afternoon, Chairperson, and good afternoon, Speaker, Honourable Beverly Schaefer, and all protocol observed. I've put on my video. I don't see it in front of me. Can I continue, Chair?
You can continue, Mayor. Do you have your presentation sent through to our administrators?
Madam Chair, Mayor Boyson could unfortunately not attend, as you know, and he requested our IDP manager to send through the formal document to you next week sometime. So what I'm doing today, I don't have the document in front of me, but what I'm doing is focusing on our IDP for today's program. So I won't be long. I will be focusing on one of the main issues regarding gender and gender mainstreaming. So I should not be longer than 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
so
you.
You don't have a presentation that will be flagged?
No, the presentation will be emailed. I'm just going to speak about some of our highlights. Thank you, Chair. Right, so Chair, we focus in our IDP 2021 inter alia on the 17 goals linked to the Garden Route District objectives built on the successes of the Millennium Development Goals. Now, gender equality is number 5 on the list of the 17 goals. These goals are integrated in our Sustainable Development Goals as part of the Transforming Our World 2030. The Garden Route's long-term vision will focus on the following strategic areas. Number 1, on the environmental sustainability. Number 2, on the strategic infrastructure investment. Number 3, on the economic development and support. Number 4, education and skills development. Number 5, safety and empowerment of communities. And 6, institutional development. Madam Chair, the 10 articles contained in the Women's Charter has been interwoven in our IDP with specific reference to Article 6 relating to social services and Article 10 relating to violence against women. But, Madam Chair, in no way downplaying the balance of the articles in the Women's Charter. Madam Chair, we will be having our annual summit this year on gender-based violence. Furthermore, we have identified 5 vision-inspired items and priorities. I'd like to share 2 with the meeting attendees today. The one being under safe and cohesive communities. And here we will be focusing on reducing violence by and against youth and children, also focusing on school-based violence. Then under empowering people, we will focus on youth and skills, and also focus on shelters for women and the provision of drug treatment services. And these are only 2 examples on these 2 vision-inspired priorities. Now, Mayor, I thank you, or Chairperson, I thank you for this opportunity. And Mayor Boyson has apologized for his absence, and we will be sending through the official document to you next week. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Next on our item is the discussions, and that will be for 30 minutes. I will now invite anybody on the platform who's got anything to add or questions or anything. Feel free to participate. You can use the raise your hand function. You can use your raise your hand button to indicate whether you want a chance to speak. Thank you. I don't see any hands, Deputy Chairperson, for the open discussion.
I'm also looking at the screen and I don't see any. I saw a hand now. There is one, two. Did you see them? Gert de Klerk, Juna Wenzel.
Okay, so let's start. Okay, there's another one, Chabi Singh. And then I've got Kate Blankulu. Okay, let me start with the first one, Gert de Klerk. The platform is yours, Gert de Klerk. You can switch on your video and unmute yourself and you can continue. Gert de Klerk, you can unmute yourself.
I think we move to the next person that was supposed to be speaking. Gert de Klerk is not coming through. It possibly have a problem.
It's Juna Wenzel.
Yes, can I?
You can continue.
Thank you for this opportunity. I've been so only in with really very glad for this opportunity. I do have a lunch today with a serious concern because at the end of the day, one is aware of what is happening in the room. We face challenges upon challenges. If I can to we do have domestic violence or gender-based violence. You discovered an unemployment score. You did see our in the small and it's very big concern. We try to involve all in participation. It's the air. Is legislation. Beautiful. We do have the thing is when we're telling again in a very
Can I really, Chairperson, I don't know, is it only me?